Your soulmate wrote a secret love letter. You must read it before tomorrow. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting. Your soulmate wrote a secret love letter, but the most unbelievable part is not that the letter exists. It is what they finally admitted inside it. These are the words they could never bring themselves to say when you were near, the feelings they kept hidden behind ordinary conversations, quiet moments, and unfinished sentences. And somehow, everything they wanted you to understand has been placed into one message. Don't skip, because one particular confession changes the meaning of everything that came before it. Your soulmate has been carrying a feeling that became stronger every time they tried to ignore it. They wondered whether you could sense it too. They wondered whether those strange moments when you suddenly thought about them meant something deeper. And then they wrote the sentence they had been avoiding. There is something about you I have never been able to forget. But that is only the beginning. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the final truth behind this secret love letter may be the part you never expected. Here is where the letter becomes impossible to ignore. Your soulmate admits that there was a moment when they almost told you everything. They had the words ready. They imagined your reaction. They even replayed the conversation in their mind, wondering how different life might become if they finally stopped hiding what they felt. But something made them remain silent. So the confession stayed inside them, growing stronger with every memory. Don't skip, because what they wrote next reveals why tomorrow matters so much. The letter says, I kept waiting for the perfect moment, until I realized that some feelings become too important to keep waiting. Think about those words. This was never meant to be another ordinary message. It was written because something inside them finally changed. They no longer wanted silence to speak for them. They wanted you to know that your presence left a mark they could not erase, that certain memories of you still return when they least expect them, and that there is one question they have secretly wanted to ask you for longer than you realize. Stay till the end, because that question is connected to the biggest revelation in the letter. And now the words become even more personal. Your soulmate writes, if I could have one completely honest moment with you, I would tell you that meeting you changed something in me. Don't skip. The next confession is the one they struggled hardest to write. They admit that they tried to convince themselves the connection would fade with time, but every attempt only made them understand how meaningful it had become. Certain songs reminded them of you. Certain quiet moments brought back your voice. Certain memories made them wonder whether your story together had really reached its final page, or whether something had simply been left unfinished. And then comes the line that makes the entire secret letter feel different. Before tomorrow arrives, I need you to understand why I never truly let this feeling go. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the reason they give next is not what anyone would expect. There is one hidden truth behind their silence, one memory they have never forgotten, and one final sentence they almost removed from the letter completely. That sentence is where everything changes. Something changed the moment your soulmate reached the next page of that secret letter, because this is where they stopped hiding behind careful words and finally wrote what their heart had been trying to say. Don't skip, because the confession coming now explains why they could never completely move on from the thought of you. They wrote, there was one moment between us that probably looked ordinary to you, but I carried it with me long after it ended. They remember something small. Perhaps the way you looked at them, the way you listened, the way your presence made everything around them feel strangely quiet. You may not even realize which moment they mean, and that is exactly what makes this revelation so surprising. To you, it may have been seconds. To them, it became a memory they return to again and again. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate then admits that whenever they tried to imagine the person they could be completely themselves around, somehow their thoughts kept returning to you. Not because everything was perfect, but because something about your connection felt different from anything they could easily explain. And then they wrote a sentence they almost crossed out: "I think part of me recognized your importance before I was ready to admit it." But there is another secret beneath those words, and it changes the entire meaning of this letter. What they reveal next is something they have never said clearly before. Don't skip. Your soulmate admits there were times when they wanted to reach out, say more, stay longer, or turn an ordinary conversation into the conversation that could finally reveal everything. Yet every time they came close, they wondered whether you felt anything similar. So instead of risking the truth, they waited. But waiting did something unexpected. It made them notice how often you appeared in their thoughts without invitation. A familiar place could remind them of you. A random sentence could bring back something you once said. Even during completely ordinary days, a memory of you could suddenly return and make them wonder, what if I had been honest? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and this is where tomorrow becomes important. They wrote, "I don't want another day to begin while the most important words are still trapped inside me." Then comes the revelation they were afraid to put on paper. They were not writing because they wanted to revisit the past. They were writing because they had started imagining a possibility they had never allowed themselves to seriously consider before, a new chapter where nothing important remained unsaid. And there is one question at the center of that possibility. Now the letter reaches the sentence that your soulmate rewrote more than once, because they knew that once these words existed, they could no longer pretend the feeling meant nothing. If life gave us one completely honest chance, would you want to discover what this connection could become? Don't skip, because even that question is not the biggest revelation. Immediately after writing it, they confess something even deeper. There is a reason I chose now, and when you understand it, you will understand why I could not keep this letter inside me anymore. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The reason is connected to a realization they had recently, a realization about you, about timing, and about the one thing they would regret leaving forever unspoken. They understood that some people become memorable because of what happened with them, but very rarely, someone becomes unforgettable because of what still feels unfinished. And according to this letter, that person was you. Your soulmate has one final truth they have been holding back from everyone, a truth that explains what they secretly hoped would happen between you. But before revealing it, they wrote one extraordinary line. If you are reading my words, then maybe the moment I kept waiting for has finally arrived. What comes after that line is the confession they never thought they would have the courage to make. But the next line of the letter changes the entire story, because your soulmate finally reveals what they meant by, the moment I kept waiting for. Don't skip. They wrote, I kept thinking I needed certainty before I could tell you how much you mattered, but now I understand that some feelings become clear only when you stop running from them. And then the letter becomes even more personal. They admit there were nights when an old memory of you suddenly returned, and instead of pushing it away, they allowed themselves to remember everything. The conversations that ended too quickly, the words they almost said, the moments when they wondered if you could somehow see through their silence. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They reveal that the strongest memory was never some dramatic moment. It was something almost invisible to everyone else, one instant when they looked at you and felt completely understood without needing to explain themselves. That tiny moment stayed with them because they had rarely experienced anything like it. And this is where they write something unexpected. I didn't miss only the moments we shared. I missed the version of myself that appeared whenever you were near. That sentence explains why this letter exists now, but it still doesn't explain why they believe tomorrow could change everything. Then comes the part they almost refuse to write. Don't skip, because this is where the hidden meaning behind the entire letter begins to surface. Your soulmate says, "For a long time, I thought silence would make everything easier. Instead, silence became the one thing I wished I could undo." They started realizing that the biggest unanswered question was never whether the connection had been real to them. They already knew the answer. The question was whether you had ever felt that strange pull too. The feeling that something meaningful had been left halfway between goodbye and beginning again. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate admits they noticed little things they never told you about. They remembered details from conversations you probably assumed they had forgotten. They remembered expressions on your face, the sound of your laughter, and the way certain moments felt different when you were there. But one memory stands above all the others. They call it the moment everything became clear. And according to the letter, that was the exact moment they realized their feelings had become impossible to dismiss. They wanted to tell you then. They almost did. But the words never came out, and what happened afterward made them wonder whether they had missed their only chance. Now the handwriting in the letter seems to become more certain, because your soulmate knows there is no reason to hide anymore. They write, "If I could return to that moment, I would not stay silent this time." Don't skip. What follows is the closest they have come to saying exactly what they want from you. I would tell you that you became important to me in a way I never planned. I would tell you that distance never completely erased what I felt. And I would ask whether somewhere inside you, there is still a page of our story waiting to be written. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is still one final detail your soulmate has not revealed, the reason they believe this letter needed to reach you before tomorrow. It has nothing to do with repeating the past. It has everything to do with a decision they have finally made about the future. At the bottom of this page, they leave one unfinished sentence: "Tomorrow, I am finally going to," and then the word stop. The answer continues on the next page, along with the one confession they have been building toward from the very first line. And then you turn the next page, and suddenly the unfinished sentence is complete: "Tomorrow, I am finally going to stop pretending that what I feel for you is something I can simply forget." Don't skip, because this is where the secret love letter becomes more powerful than anything your soulmate has admitted before. They write that tomorrow was never meant to be a deadline, it became a symbol of the moment they decided they could no longer carry an unfinished truth into another day. I spent too long wondering whether I should tell you, the letter continues, when the question I should have asked was why I was so afraid of being honest. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate finally understands that the connection they kept questioning was meaningful because it changed them. You made them think differently about closeness, timing, and what it means to truly remember someone. And then comes a revelation that makes every earlier sentence fall into place. They never needed a perfect moment with you. They simply wanted one real moment where neither of you had to hide behind uncertainty. They write, "If I could sit across from you right now, I wouldn't give you some perfect speech. I would look at you and finally say the simplest truth: you mattered to me then, and somehow, you still matter to me now." But even this is not the final confession. There is one more page, and your soulmate says it contains the words they were most afraid to write. What appears next feels different from everything before it. Don't skip. Your soulmate stops talking about memories and begins talking about possibility. "I don't know exactly where our story is supposed to lead," they write, "but I know I no longer want fear to decide whether we ever discover the answer." That is the secret hidden underneath every unfinished conversation, every remembered moment, and every sentence in this letter. They were not waiting because they had nothing to say. They were waiting because what they wanted to say meant too much. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because now they reveal the thought that finally gave them the courage to finish writing. What if the connection I kept trying to understand was never asking me to have every answer? What if it was only asking me to be honest? And with that realization, something inside them changed. They stopped imagining every possible outcome and started thinking about the one outcome they would regret most. Never allowing you to know what was real inside their heart. So they make one quiet promise in the letter: if another genuine moment ever opens between you, they will not fill it with silence again. They will speak clearly. They will stop leaving important words unfinished. And they will finally tell you why one particular memory of you became the turning point they could never forget. The final lines on this page are the ones that make you understand why your soulmate kept the deepest confession until the end. "There was a time when I thought meeting the right person would immediately give me every answer," they write. "But meeting you gave me something different. It gave me questions that stayed with me because they mattered." Don't skip, because the biggest one is coming. They wondered why your memory survived ordinary days, changing circumstances, and all the moments when they believed they had finally stopped thinking about what could have been. Then one realization arrived: perhaps they were asking themselves the wrong question. Instead of asking, "Why can't I forget this?" they finally asked, "What was this connection trying to teach me?" Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Their answer is written at the very bottom of the page. "It taught me that some people enter your life and become a memory, while someone truly meaningful can become a possibility you never completely stopped wondering about." And beside those words is one final sentence leading into the last revelation: "There is something I need you to know about the future I secretly imagined with you." That future, and the one sentence your soulmate has never spoken aloud, is waiting on the final page. The final page begins with a sentence your soulmate had been trying to write from the very beginning: "The future I secretly imagined was never about creating a perfect story, it was about getting one honest chance to discover what our story could actually become." Don't skip, because everything in this secret love letter has been leading to what comes next. They imagine talking to you without hiding behind hesitation. They imagined hearing the things you never said, telling you the things they kept locked inside, and finally discovering whether those unforgettable moments meant something to both of you. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate writes, "Maybe you never knew how important you became to me. Maybe I was too quiet when I should have been honest. But if there is one thing I want you to understand before tomorrow, it is this: meeting you was not ordinary to me." Then comes the once-in-a-lifetime revelation they had struggled to admit throughout the entire letter. They weren't holding on to some perfect version of the past. They were holding on to the possibility that the connection deserved one truthful conversation before either of you decided what it really meant. And suddenly, every mysterious line from the beginning makes sense. The remembered moments. The unfinished conversations. The silence. The timing. They were all leading toward this one final confession. But there is still one sentence left, and your soulmate calls it the sentence they were most afraid to write. Don't skip. The letter continues, "If tomorrow gave me the opportunity to stand in front of you, I would finally stop wondering what might happen and simply tell you what is true. They would tell you that you became unforgettable without trying. That something about your presence stayed in their memory long after certain moments ended. That whenever they imagined having one completely honest conversation with someone who had truly affected their heart, your face appeared. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because now comes the question hidden beneath the entire letter. If you felt even a small part of what I felt, would you give our unfinished story one honest moment?" Notice what they are not asking for. They are not asking for guarantees. They are not pretending to know exactly what comes next. They are asking for truth. For clarity. For one moment where nothing meaningful has to remain hidden. And then they admit something surprising. Writing this letter already changed them, because for the first time, they stopped being afraid of their own feelings. Whether the answer becomes a beginning or simply an understanding, they finally chose honesty over wondering forever. And now you reach the very last lines. Don't skip, because this is the moment everything has been building toward. Your soulmate writes, "If these words ever reach you, remember only this: somewhere along the way, you became part of a chapter one could never completely close." They pause before the final sentence, almost as if they know these words will carry everything they could not say before. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but tonight I finally know what I should have told you long ago: you mattered, you still matter, and if life gives us another genuine moment, I will not waste it pretending otherwise. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. And perhaps the biggest revelation is not that someone secretly remembered you. It is that the letter was never really about yesterday. Every page was leading toward tomorrow, toward the possibility of honesty replacing silence and answers replacing endless questions. Your soulmate began this letter carrying words they could not say, but they finish it with nothing left hidden. And beneath the final line, there are only 4 quiet words: "Now you know everything." Just when you thought the letter had revealed everything, you notice something unexpected beneath the final page, a smaller folded note that was never meant to be seen first. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Across the top, your soulmate has written, read this only after you understand everything else. And suddenly, the entire letter takes on a deeper meaning. This hidden note contains no long explanation, no carefully prepared confession, only the truth they could not fit anywhere else. There is one reason I kept thinking about tomorrow, they write. I realized I could spend another 100 days waiting for certainty, or I could finally accept that meeting you changed something inside me. They confess that every time they tried to close this chapter, one question returned: why did your memory feel different from every other memory? Then the answer finally came. It wasn't because they wanted to live in the past. It was because being around you showed them something they wanted in their future, the feeling of being understood, the freedom to be genuine, the quiet excitement of discovering someone beyond the surface. And then comes the line that makes the hidden note impossible to forget: maybe I wasn't holding on to a memory of you. Maybe I was holding on to the person I realized I wanted to become after meeting you. Then the note reveals something even more surprising. Don't skip, because your soulmate admits there was one sentence they wanted to place at the beginning of the letter but could not find the courage to write until now. If I had known our ordinary moments would become some of my most unforgettable ones, would have paid attention to every second. They remember details that seemed insignificant at the time. A conversation that lasted slightly longer than expected, a shared laugh, a look that made them wonder whether you understood more than they were saying. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because they finally explain the mysterious tomorrow that appeared throughout every page. Tomorrow represents their decision to stop measuring life by missed chances. They write, tomorrow, I want to wake up knowing that at least once, I was completely truthful about someone who genuinely mattered to me. And then the note turns toward you with one powerful thought: perhaps the most meaningful connections are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes they are the ones you understand only afterward, when the noise disappears and one person's memory somehow remains. Your soulmate says that is exactly what happened with you. The more time gave them perspective, the clearer one truth became: what they felt was never something they could explain away as an ordinary passing moment. And finally, at the bottom of the hidden note, there is one last confession, shorter than everything before it, yet stronger than every page you have already read. Don't skip. If our paths ever meet again, I won't ask the past to repeat itself. I will ask whether we can meet each other as we are now and finally say everything we once left unsaid. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That is the real secret of this love letter. Your soulmate was never writing to pull you backward. They were writing because they finally understood that an unfinished connection does not always need another fantasy, it needs an honest answer. And whatever that answer may eventually be, they wanted you to know one thing before tomorrow arrived: you were remembered. You were meaningful. You became part of a story that taught them something they could not have learned without meeting you. Then, beneath everything else, they leave one final line: if tomorrow becomes the beginning of anything, let it begin with truth. And suddenly you understand why this smaller note was hidden. The greatest revelation was never buried inside some dramatic promise. It was hidden inside the simplest realization of all: after everything they tried to forget, your soulmate finally became certain of the one thing they could no longer leave unsaid. But there is one final detail nobody noticed, and it changes the meaning of the entire letter. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. On the back of that hidden note, your soulmate left a sentence so personal that they almost erased it completely. There was one question I kept asking myself every time your memory returned: if I could speak to you without fear, what would I say first? For the longest time, they thought the answer would be complicated. They imagined explaining every missed moment, every unfinished conversation, every time they almost reached out but chose silence instead. Yet when they finally stopped overthinking, the answer became incredibly simple: I would tell you that knowing you changed the way I understand connection. Don't skip, because the next confession is even deeper. Your soulmate admits that they once believed unforgettable people were unforgettable because of extraordinary moments. You taught them something different. Sometimes a person becomes unforgettable because ordinary moments with them somehow feel extraordinary afterward. A simple conversation becomes a memory. A familiar smile becomes something you can still picture. A few quiet seconds become the moment you wish you had understood while they were happening. And your soulmate finally realizes that this is exactly why your story remained somewhere inside them. Then comes the revelation they never expected to discover while writing. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate says, I thought this letter was going to be about everything I never told you. But somewhere between the first page and the last, I realized it was actually about everything I finally understood. They understood that timing cannot always be controlled. They understood that silence can protect a feeling for a while, but it can never answer the questions surrounding it. Most importantly, they understood that they were no longer searching for a perfect ending. They were searching for one honest beginning. Don't skip. Your soulmate then writes something that makes every previous page feel like preparation for this exact moment. If tomorrow gives me another opportunity, I won't arrive with expectations. I will arrive with honesty. No rehearsed speech. No pretending to know the future. Just the courage to finally say, you mattered more than I showed you. And behind that sentence is another truth. They have wondered whether you also remember one particular moment between you, the same moment they called ordinary at first, until time revealed how important it actually was. And now the letter reaches the words your soulmate saved for the very end. Don't skip, because after this, nothing remains hidden. If you remember me, I hope you remember the real version of me, not the person who stayed silent, but the person who eventually found the courage to understand what that silence was hiding. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate does not promise some perfect future, because they finally understand that genuine connection does not need impossible promises. Instead, they leave you with something stronger, a completely honest truth. There are countless people we meet and eventually stop wondering about. But somehow, you became the question my heart kept returning to. And beneath that sentence comes the final revelation: maybe tomorrow changes nothing. Maybe tomorrow changes everything. But when tomorrow arrives, there will finally be one difference: I will no longer be hiding what you meant to me. The letter ends there. No unfinished sentence this time. No missing page. No words crossed out. Just the quiet certainty that whatever comes next will no longer be built on silence. And perhaps that was the secret your soulmate wanted you to understand all along. Sometimes the biggest turning point begins with someone finally having the courage to say what they should have said much sooner. My beloved child, there is still one truth hidden beyond the final words, and this is the moment your soulmate's letter reaches the confession they could not even admit to themselves before writing it. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They write, I kept wondering why I needed you to know all of this before tomorrow, and tonight I finally understood. It was never because tomorrow carried some magical guarantee. It was because they had reached a point where another sunrise could not arrive with the same unanswered words sitting inside them. They had spent too much time imagining what you might think, what you might feel, and whether the connection meant anything from your side. But underneath every question was one certainty: you affected their life in a way they could not simply replace. Not because every moment was extraordinary, but because something about you made ordinary moments stay in their memory. Then comes the sentence they hesitated to write: if I could choose one person to have one completely truthful conversation with, I would still choose you. Don't skip, because the next line reveals what they secretly hoped that conversation could become. Here is where everything shifts from memory to possibility. Your soulmate writes, I don't want to ask whether we can return to what was. I want to know whether two people who once left important words unsaid can meet again with nothing hidden. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They imagine sitting across from you without rehearsed sentences, without trying to predict the ending, simply allowing both of you to speak honestly. And suddenly they understand something shocking. Perhaps the most important part of your connection was never what happened before. Perhaps it was what both of you learned because it happened. You made me understand that real connection is not measured by how loudly it arrives, they write. Sometimes it is measured by how quietly it remains. Don't skip. Your soulmate admits that this realization changed the question they had been asking all along. They stopped asking, why do I still remember, and started asking, why did this person become impossible to remember casually? Their answer was simple: because somewhere between your conversations, your silences, and those small moments nobody else noticed, you became meaningful to them. And now there is only one thing left for them to reveal: the exact words they would say if tomorrow placed you in front of them. The final confession is surprisingly simple, but it carries the weight of every page that came before it. Don't skip. Your soulmate writes, if I saw you tomorrow, I would not begin by explaining the past. I would begin by telling you the truth about right now. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Then the words appear, I still wonder what an honest chapter between us would look like. That is it. No impossible promise. No perfect ending already decided. Just one extraordinary possibility they could no longer ignore. They want to know what happens when silence is removed and truth finally gets its chance. They want to know whether that strange familiarity between you still exists when nothing is being hidden. And most of all, they want you to understand why they wrote this secret love letter in the first place. It was not meant to convince you of anything. It was meant to finally reveal what they had carried quietly for far too long. At the bottom of the page, beneath every confession, they leave one last sentence: tomorrow may begin like any ordinary day, but if I finally get the chance to tell you what you meant to me, it will become the day I stopped wondering forever. And with that, the secret letter closes, not with an ending, but with one unanswered possibility waiting on the other side of tomorrow.